Midnight Motorist has been one of the most unsolved mysteries on all of FNAF's mysteries ever since 2017. However, the answer might be a bit more simple than we had thought. I think I may have solved Midnight Motorist, but maybe this time it has actually been solved. Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Bullet Spring Trap. Midnight Motorist has been unsolved for quite some time. 7 years now. Why for so long? Well, it is due to the fact that we have yellow or mustard man driving what should be William Afton's car. Also, a huge factor are those animatronic footprints, because this could imply that the wannabe kid was lured out. It probably won't make any sense if this is the Afton family. And then, finally, the mound, which is just there in an empty space, but it has something important as it is there. All of these factors conclude that Midnight Motorist is extremely hard to solve, but I do think I at least have solved it. In my previous timeline, before I made this theory, I believed that Claire Afton died, leading William Afton to go drink at Junior's, causing him to go drunk, and since he is already jealous at Henry, which is said in the books, he kills Charlie. Freddy Fazbear's outside Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and flees the scene. Then, that is when Midnight Motorist happens. But what if the mound is where Claire Afton is? First of all, Skull Coffin, while making Pizzeria Simulator, the game with Midnight Motorist, MatPat made a video on how Miss Afton was or could be below her. This could be possibly him just telling us that this is not the case. Probably what I can't say why Miss Afton, or I should say Claire Afton, is in the mountain dead. It is quite dark. I believe, as do much of the FNAF community, that William Afton is an abusive dad. So he could be an abusive husband, right? Well, in sister location, at the end of every night, we can see us, Mike, watching Immortal and the Restless. Forget about the actual story. What about what's actually going on between our stand-ins for William and Claire Afton? They are arguing. This literally shows us the state of the relationship. However, this could just be an average argument, so let's see what they're arguing about. What they are arguing about is whether the vampire kid, basically Michael Afton, is his child or not. It doesn't matter about the fact that what does is score, showing us that this isn't an ordinary argument. This is a serious one. So what if Afton just killed Claire Afton on accident, in maybe a drunken state? He also is the leader of Fazbear Entertainment, so he probably didn't want to surrender to the police, and instead hid the body of Claire Afton in a pile of dirt, the mound. William Afton would go to the mound just to see if anyone had found the mound, so he would still be safe. Now let's move on to other bits of the theory, and it is about the house. The Midnight Motorist house is definitely not the FNAF 4 house or the house we are in during the FNAF 4 minigames. This is a different house, but these are also Afton houses for sure, with the Aftons living in them. So what if they were owned by two parents, Claire Afton and William Afton? Since Claire Afton is near her body to the Midnight Motorist house, and Fredbear's Family Diner is closer to the FNAF 4 minigame house, and the fact I believe the FNAF 4 house is just for the experiments, I believe that Claire Afton's house is the Midnight Motorist one, and Afton the FNAF 4 minigame house. So I just solved a mini mystery there. This just tells us that the houses cannot be the same, and also if people think that the FNAF 4 minigame house is the same as the Midnight Motorist house, and Junior's the same as Fredbear's Family Diner, tell me this. How is someone's front yard is a group of trees in like a few months? I think that officially tells us that those houses are different. But that isn't really important to Midnight Motorist, but it is fun to know. Now moving on to the dark story of Midnight Motorist. Probably the most confusing part is the animatronic footprints. Why is it there? Well, it could actually explain why the crying child, or David Afton, as I like saying, is terrified of the animatronics at Fedman's Family Diner. We know that Glitch Trap, which is basically Forfest Bonnie, Spring Bonnie, or the yellow rabbit, has 3 toes in his foot. On his foot, I suppose. What do we know? There are 3 toes in the footprint, and specifically it looks like a suit foot. But that is a stretch. However, the crying child may be terrified of the animatronics because maybe William Afton dressed up as in a Spring Bonnie suit, like not an animatronic, and the crying child may have felt threatened. Maybe because William Afton broke the crying child's window to get in. Why? Well, it is to check on him, whatever William Afton does in Midnight Motorist when trying to open the door to the crying child's room. Another connection is maybe he knew his dad. William Afton dressed up as an animatronic, and since his dad was probably an abusive one as we theorized, which is an absolute terrible situation to be in, probably adding more why he should definitely be in hell. But the crying child may have made the connection between the two, and thus did not like the animatronics. Also, the Fedbear plush while near the Fedbear suit worn by an employee says, "Don't you remember what you saw?" Which could link in with him seeing an animatronic or Spring Bonnie or a yellow rabbit suit, being worn by William outside of his room. Another piece of evidence is that I think in Help Wanted, somewhere again like that, we see Glitch Trap, or really the yellow rabbit suit, outside of the Afton house, which really be telling us that this is the case. So that is the story of Midnight Motorist, showing us that William Afton is a person who threatens and abuses people and even kills Miss Afton, Claire Afton. This should be why he makes Baloa someone who would be mimicking. That sounds familiar. What Claire Afton would do, it was guilt. He did that. But what about Junius? What is the weird place where William Afton is turned away from? I do still believe that this is a bar, which shows where William Afton possibly gets his anger or drunken rage and from this place, and thus this one place technically killed Claire Afton and traumatized the crying child. However, not to be forgotten, we see in 5 laps at Freddy's demo game that Junius is next to the Happiest Day minigame Masked Children, but so does everywhere else during the night shift. But that confuses the lore and Midnight Motorist a lot. Trust me, I've been thinking of this for a long time, and it can't work. What I am talking about is that the mediocre melodies are performing in Junius. So I don't really believe Cosmo's theory on Midnight Motorist, but really the only thing I have added is explaining "Remember What You Saw" quote and why the crying child is terrified of the animatronics. Even if this is the practical consensus of the FNAF community about Midnight Motorist right now, I tried to add something different like the mediocre melodies animatronics into Junius. This explains a lot about Midnight Motorist. What do you think? Is this true or is it rubbish? As currently the next video might just tell us a lot about the FNAF 2 location. See you guys later from Bullis Springtrap.